Somewhere beneath this ancient stone are human bodies, not metaphorically, not symbolically, real bones, real people. Sealed inside the mortar, pressed between the bricks, buried in the foundations, an estimated 400,000 people who died building this wall and were simply built into it. The Great Wall of China is the longest structure ever constructed by human hands. It stretches over 13,000 miles. It took over 2,000 years to build, and it is haunted, not just by legend, but by the darkest chapters in human history that most people never hear about. Today, we're not telling you the tourist story. We're telling you the real one. Let's start by dismantling what you think you know. You've probably heard that the Great Wall is visible from space. That's a myth. It isn't. Astronauts have confirmed this repeatedly. The wall is too narrow. Even from low Earth orbit, you can't see it without optical aids. You've probably heard it was built by Emperor Qin Shi Huang around 221 BC. That's partially true. But the wall we picture today, the iconic stone and brick structure winding through the mountains, that was mostly built during the Ming Dynasty between 1368 and 1644 AD, over 1,000 years after Qin, and you've probably been told that the Great Wall protected China from invaders. It didn't. The Mongols got through. The Manchus got through. Nomadic tribes crossed it so frequently that historians debate whether the wall was ever militarily effective at all. So if it wasn't built when we think, doesn't look how we imagine, and didn't do what we were told, what is the Great Wall, really? That question is where the mysteries begin. The Great Wall has a nickname in China that rarely makes it into Western history books. The longest cemetery on Earth. The numbers are staggering. Historians estimate that between 400,000 and 1 million people died during the construction of the Great Wall across its various dynasties. Under Emperor Qin Shi Huang alone, somewhere between 300,000 and 500,000 laborers were conscripted. Many were criminals, prisoners of war, and peasants seized from their villages with no warning. Here's what makes this even darker. In many sections of the wall, archaeologists have actually found human skeletal remains embedded in the structure itself, not beside the wall, inside it. Whether this was intentional, a ritual to strengthen the wall, or simply the result of workers dying on site and being buried where they fell to save time, historians still debate. But a Chinese legend offers a haunting explanation. The story of Meng Jiangnu is one of China's oldest folk tales. Her husband was taken to build the wall under Qin Shi Huang. When he died, his body was sealed inside the wall. Meng Jiangnu walked thousands of miles to find him, and when she reached the wall, she wept so deeply and so long that a section of the wall collapsed, revealing his bones. Stone, emotional, artistic illustration. The Chinese government has declared this story a myth, but in 2007, workers repairing a section of the wall in Shaanxi province discovered something they didn't expect. Beneath the surface, they found human skeletal remains that had been mixed directly into the earthen foundations, the longest cemetery on Earth. They weren't wrong. Now here's a mystery that scientists have been quietly fascinated by for decades. The Ming Dynasty sections of the Great Wall, the ones that still stand today, the ones tourists walk on, are extraordinarily durable. After 500 years of earthquakes, floods, freezing winters, and scorching summers, much of it still stands. The question is, how? Modern mortar, the stuff we use to build today, begins to crack and crumble within decades. So how did 16th century Chinese builders create something so structurally superior? In 2010, a team of researchers from Zhejiang University published a study that shocked the materials science community. Crystals, scientific visualization, blue and white tones. The secret ingredient was sticky rice, specifically a compound called amylopectin, found in glutinous rice, was mixed with the standard lime mortar. When the amylopectin interacted with the calcium carbonate in the lime, it created an unusually dense microstructure that filled in gaps and resisted water penetration in a way modern cement still struggles to replicate. Think about that for a moment. While Europe was still using basic lime mortar, Chinese engineers had developed a biocomposite building material that modern scientists are now actively researching to improve contemporary construction. Lighting, flat lay. They didn't know the chemistry. They didn't have microscopes. But through generations of trial and error, they figured out that rice made their walls last. And the truly mind-bending part? Researchers are now testing sticky rice mortar for use in restoring ancient buildings, because it works better on historic structures than modern cements, which can actually damage old stonework. The ancient solution is still the best solution. Here is perhaps the most uncomfortable truth about the Great Wall of China. It failed, repeatedly, spectacularly, and sometimes the people it was built to keep out simply walked through a gate because a guard had been bribed. In 1211 AD, Genghis Khan launched his invasion of northern China. The Great Wall, then in an earlier form, did virtually nothing to stop him. His forces crossed it, went around it, and through it. The Jin dynasty fell. Millions died. Mongolian warrior art style. Then, in 1644, something even more embarrassing happened. The Manchu forces, the people the Ming dynasty had spent a century and a fortune fortifying the wall against, didn't break through the wall. A Chinese general named Wu Sungui simply opened the gates and let them in. He had a personal grievance with the ruling emperor. One act of betrayal, and the Great Wall, the most expensive construction project in human history, was rendered completely irrelevant in a single afternoon. But here's what historians find truly fascinating. The wall may have never been primarily about keeping people out. Professor Arthur Waldron of the University of Pennsylvania, one of the foremost scholars on the Great Wall, argues that the wall served a very different strategic purpose. It wasn't a military barrier, it was a political statement. It defined where China ended. It was a physical declaration that said, "This is us, and everything beyond this line is them." The wall was less a military fortification and more an ideology made of stone. Which raises the question, if the Chinese emperors knew the wall wasn't stopping invasions, why did they keep building it? And the answer might be darker than you expect. Here is something that should be impossible for the most famous structure on Earth. Nobody knows exactly where all of it is. The Great Wall is not one wall. It is a network of walls, trenches, watchtowers, fortresses, and natural barriers built across 15 Chinese provinces over 2,000 years by dozens of different dynasties. Many sections were built of rammed earth and have simply eroded into the landscape, indistinguishable from natural hills. Highlighted in orange, scientific discovery visualization. In 2012, Chinese archaeologists, using advanced infrared satellite imaging, discovered hundreds of previously unknown sections of the wall. Some buried under sand dunes in the Gobi Desert, others hidden beneath vegetation in remote mountain ranges. In Inner Mongolia, an entirely new section was found that historians had no record of. It predates the Ming dynasty by centuries and was built using a construction technique never before documented. As of today, the National Cultural Heritage Administration of China estimates that 30% of the Ming dynasty wall has disappeared entirely, destroyed by weather, human activity, and in some cases, deliberately dismantled by local farmers who used the stones to build houses. There are sections that exist in historical records, referenced in imperial documents, mentioned by military commanders, that have never been physically located, the longest structure ever built, and we still haven't found all of it. We talk about the emperors who ordered the wall built. We talk about the dynasties that funded it. But who actually built it? The answer is almost everyone. Under the Qin dynasty, Emperor Qin Shi Huang used a system of forced labor so brutal it sparked multiple rebellions. Scholars, merchants, criminals, and farmers were all conscripted. Refusing meant death. Fleeing meant death for your family. During the Han Dynasty, the wall was extended westward using a combination of soldiers, convicts, and nomadic peoples who had been conquered and absorbed into the Chinese Empire. People who were essentially building the very barrier meant to keep their own relatives out. During the Ming Dynasty, the era of the wall as we know it today, the construction workforce was so enormous that entire government ministries were created just to manage it. At peak construction periods, over 1 million workers were active on the wall simultaneously. But here's the detail that gets lost. Many of the wall's most sophisticated architectural features, the drainage systems, the signaling towers, the garrison structures, show clear signs of being designed by military engineers with advanced mathematical knowledge. We know the emperors, we know the generals. The engineers who actually solved the structural problems, their names were never recorded. The most technically sophisticated construction project in human history, and we don't know who designed it. No exploration of the Great Wall would be complete without its legends, and there are many. In the mountains of Hebei province, locals have reported for centuries that on certain nights, particularly around the Qingming festival, when the Chinese honor their dead, you can hear sounds coming from the wall, not the wind, not animals, voices, and the sound of stone on stone. The most persistent legend speaks of the dragon's backbone, a specific section of wall in Gansu province that local people refuse to visit after dark. According to the legend, the wall was built over an ancient dragon burial ground, and the dragon's spirit runs through the entire structure. They say this is why the wall follows the mountain ridges so precisely. It traces the spine of the buried dragon. Scientists, of course, have a more rational explanation. The wall follows ridgelines for defensive and logistical reasons. High ground gave watchtowers better visibility, and ridgelines created natural barriers. But the legend persists. During the Ming Dynasty construction, engineers discovered that their material calculations were almost supernaturally accurate. When one section was completed, workers found a single extra brick left over, sitting on a ledge near the Jiayuguan Pass. Their foreman told them it had been placed there deliberately by a diviner who calculated it would be needed. That single brick still sits there today, 500 years later. No one has moved it. The superstition holds that disturbing it will cause the entire pass to collapse. One brick, 500 years, undisturbed. So what is the Great Wall of China, really? It is a cemetery and a monument, a failure and a wonder, a political statement written in stone and bones and rice, a structure built by the forgotten for the glorification of the remembered. It spans 2,000 years of human ambition, cruelty, ingenuity, and stubbornness. No single dynasty built it. No single emperor imagined it. It grew like a scar across the face of a continent, each generation adding its layer, its dead, its secrets. And here is the final mystery, the one that I think matters most. Despite everything, the failed military strategy, the human cost, the brutal labor, the corruption, the betrayals, the wall still stands. Not because it was perfect, not because it worked as intended, but because millions of anonymous people built it well. Their names were never recorded, their stories were never told, but their work survived. The Great Wall is the longest biography of ordinary people ever written, in stone. If this video made you see the Great Wall differently, subscribe. We go deep on the stories history forgot every single week. And if you want to go even deeper, watch our video on related video title. The link is right there. I'll see you in the next one.